And away we go. I hope this time it actually works. Twice, not once, twice, I tried starting this recording and all of a sudden my headphones is kind of acting up. Yet I forgot one thing. The beep, the moment I enter the recording booth for one of these episodes. That's what was missing, I just realised. Rightio then, with that put aside, let's see what me, Eric, and or Risk have sent in our podcast group chat. I've shared a Twitter X post by Birmingham Police at Brum Police, and this is going to be a story or event that a lot of people online would certainly be made aware of by now. I'm not sure if it's made into mainstream news in the UK, because I'm in Brazil as I'm recording this, so I wouldn't know, to be honest, in my opinion. Then again, not the first time. So, the Twitter X post in question reads the following. This is a multi-post thread, so there's going to be a lot more information that I'm going to be reading out, besides just the post. So, the post in question reads the following. We are aware of footage showing the arrest of a man after a disorder on Broad Street at 1:30 a.m. on June 21st. Officers found a group of men fighting. As the incident was dealt with, an officer was punched. One man was arrested and charged with assaulting a police officer. And there is a Twitter X community note where the readers added context. So, in other words, users on Twitter X have added and linked other sources on top of this Twitter X post, adding whatever information that is worth noting or something that was left out entirely. The Twitter X community notes reads for the first, the main post by Birmingham Police reads, the video depicts a group assault on young man who was thrown to the floor, attackers and victims visible to onlookers and police. Clearly, the officer was not quote-unquote punched. Having just been attacked, the man was still defending himself from any and all assailants. I'm not sure if this is an add-on to the main post by Birmingham Police or a completely separate comment written separately entirely. The next post or part of this thread reads, the incident has been reviewed, and we have no concerns over the officer's actions, satisfied that they were reasonable and proportionate in the circumstances. We would ask that footage is not further shared to allow the legal process to take its course. Then another Twitter X community note has been added in on top of that additional post in response to the main post regarding the incident in Birmingham. The Twitter X community note reads, the footage in question disproves the police's account of the incident. It is in the public interest for it to be shared far and wide to ensure a just outcome for the male who has been arrested and aid him with any civil action he may wish to take against the police. Yeah, and before I get into my take on my perspective on this, I've written a response in the podcast group chat directly responding to the Twitter X post, and I've said, you know it's really bad when even despite being called out for the errors being made and knowing the consequences that is to come from such, the accused person and or people in question goes on to provide their side of the story that a lot of people will still call bollocks on anyway. That's what I said directly in response to that Twitter X post into the podcast group chat. What I will say from my perspective on this story, what the fudge? How on earth has UK policing reached this particular point in time, regardless of what the public thinks, or if Birmingham police are just writing this to soften the blow of whatever errors that they have made from what people have seen from that footage. Whilst cases like that don't happen often, especially doesn't happen often anywhere else in the world, it is very unfortunate for victims of any crime or violence to not just receive the support in regards to what they have been through from said crime or violence, that, in my opinion, it just doesn't add up. Wait, what do you mean? A gang who assaulted a man got away and the victim in question was the one that's arrested. If you were to go back as far as 2019 and say, this is what's going to happen in the future, or maybe just say that this is what's happening right now, hypothetically speaking, people would think you're crazy, you're being pessimistic, or you're just overthinking. There's no way the police would be that corrupt or incompetent in their job to make such mistakes. Yeah, this is the reality in Birmingham in the last few days. I I am genuinely beyond speechless right now. And whilst I will say, in defense of Birmingham police, and I'm not saying what Birmingham police had done are okay. I'm still frustrated with the mistakes they've made in that case in Birmingham. The guy that was the victim, whilst I understand he had every right to defend himself, personally, the whatever people would say is a quote attack on the police officer is one of the reasons that Birmingham police would have ever gone against would have gone after the victim in the first place. Again, I'm not saying this is okay to enact violence on authorities, and I'm not defending police officers for every mistake they have made in the case. I believe that even with the victim, whilst he had every right to defend himself in whatever violence comes his way, it's it's also just as much of a mistake to still attack the police officer, even if you weren't made aware that whoever the person that he attacked was a police officer, and then he got arrested for that. Yeah, is that really the big issue if what happened mere seconds before that that the victim in question had been attacked by a gang of people somewhere in Birmingham that would have ignited the victim to behave in the way that he did, which, although not okay to attack anyone, I don't blame him for trying to defend himself in whatever way he can, given what his perspective was in being confronted by the gang of men in Broad Street, Birmingham. This is really hot. This is really hot water for Birmingham police. If there is going to be a court case for that incident on June 21st, the Birmingham the police officers for Birmingham police that were on duty for that incident, they have a lot of explaining to do. They're really going to have to explain themselves why they're taking the actions they did against the victim and what they they believe they could have done in regards to the gang of men that attacked the victim, which the police arrested in the first place on the scene. That's what I know, and that's what I think of the situation. Of course, others will have their own opinions on the situation, nonetheless. Even in a world where people live in a mindset of insanity where they keep making the same mistakes over and over again, no matter how obvious the consequences are, it is worth having these discussions constructively and try to learn from stories like this. And although I don't plan on doing anything criminalized or illegal, because, well, why would I? I don't see any intention of doing so. I enjoy my life. Yeah, even if I try living life peacefully and legally as possible, I too also worry at times. When I go out in public, I get confronted by police. They ask me questions about whatever it is I've been accused of, which I certainly have no knowledge of. I still have concerns that authorities will try to interrogate me, get on my nerves, take me to the station, and put me in a holding cell regardless. As unlikely any of these things would ever be happening at any point, that's not to say that possibilities are zero. It's just very unlikely. Yet, the probability is never zero. Remember that. Next, I sent a screen recording of a Instagram reel. I was going to download it and send it to the group chat like I always do with Instagram reels. However, there wasn't the option to do so, so I had to screen record it on my iPad. The screen recorded Instagram reel in question is a Christian content creator. The text in the video he made reads, "Terrorists are trying to find me." No, seriously, that's literally the text he's written in the video. Not in the caption, it's the text in the video as he's speaking. But how could this be? How does this Christian content creator got himself in this mess in the first place? Well, let's see what he has to say on that.
A lot of you have noticed that I randomly stopped talking about Islam for over 1 month, and the reason that I did that is because I was threatened by a terrorist organization. One day, while I was at work, I got a text from a family member of mine telling me that I needed to come home immediately because the FBI was at my house. So I got in the car, got on the phone with this family member, and drove home. When I arrived home, there was a man waiting outside. He showed me his badge, informed me that he was with the FBI, and then told me that we needed to talk. He told me that there was a terrorist group based in the Middle East and that they were targeting me, calling me a kafir because I was a threat to the Prophet Muhammad's dignity. This terrorist group had pictures of me, private information, and were actively looking for my address with plans to unalive me and those around me. The FBI agent then told me that it was probably smart to stop engaging with Muslims online for a little bit for the safety of myself and my family members. This really upset me because I had an upcoming debate with the Orthodox Muslim, and I unfortunately had to tell him that I could no longer debate. However, he then used that to embarrass me, even after I told him that he was actively endangering my family by confirming with the public that the FBI did have to come to my house and that this terrorist organization was making real progress towards finding who I was. He posted screenshots from our private messages endangering me and my loved ones, which I was not a fan of. However, I have been working over the past month or so to scrub my private information off of the internet. I am not there perfectly, but I'm doing my best. Now, because of this whole situation, I ask 3 things of all of you guys. Number 1, remember that not every single Muslim is violent like the certain ones that I'm dealing with. Please do not enforce stereotypes just because one terrorist group decided to attack somebody that you are familiar with. Number 2, be patient with me and know that I will resume Muslim content eventually, but I just can't do it yet because I fear for the safety of my loved ones. Number 3, please pray for me for my general safety and that if I do end up losing my life because of this, that it happens while I am in a state of grace and that nobody else is harmed. Thank you guys for understanding and God bless.
Firstly, what I will say is, I hope whoever this guy is, he stays safe. and his family members and all of his other loved ones and friends. Secondly, again, like he said in the video, it would not be fair to say that all Muslims are violent and want to unalive you. I actually know people who are Muslim, and they are nothing like the kinds of people in the said terrorist group described in the video. And that's a good point. Just because there are people in a certain people group who show signs of violence and having desires to unalive people, that's not to say that everyone in that people group are like the stereotypes that's being portrayed by them and such. Another thing I will add is not to say this is to prove a point about one's beliefs or one's views. If you're going to have a large-scale organization go after you for the views, the opinions you have, and especially given the fan base you have, to project that message to other people, that's how you know that the targeted individual in question is a threat to the information that is to be believed by the organization. And if the person that's being targeted continues to talk about the topic in question in a way that makes the messages and the ideologies of the mega organization look bad, then why wouldn't the mega organization go after this targeted individual to ensure that the ways of life and the ways of functioning in the eyes of the mega organization itself is not to be under threat by individuals that may not have much to offer, yet have a platform to spread and raise awareness of the information about whatever these organizations are doing, what actions they've done in the past, and what do they think of other people that are outside of that organization. And this isn't even about Islam, Muslims, or whatever, or even that terrorist organization anymore. This could apply to anyone and anything in our lives. If you're going to have someone go after you because you said something about this person or that person or this company that's doing horrible things, and then that company that you're talking about so badly about because doing horrible things, they go after you because you're making them look bad, then you're doing something right. It's good to raise awareness about the devastations and the horrible things that these whatever groups of people are doing. And yeah, I will say it again. I hope this man in that video, him, his friends and family stay safe, and he continues to do the work that he's doing, even if a majority of people disagree with what he says. There will come a point, not now, not this year, not even this decade perhaps, at some point in our lifetimes, we will know whatever's going on. And it does not matter what is the important issue here. If there is an issue that everyone should know about, there will come a point that a majority of the world population will be made aware of whatever these devastations, the tragedies, horrific acts of violence that's going on. They'll be made aware of, and there will be groups of people that will stop at nothing to ensure that these levels of negativity and violence and aggression, it just at best comes to an end. Or if not, hopefully there is a limit or restriction of this negativity, the violence, and the devastations. It is not as big as it used to be. And that is all that's been sent in the podcast group chat since the last time I recorded a podcast episode. With that all being said, let's get right into the news. Senator Mitch McConnell remains hospitalized more than 2 weeks after an undisclosed medical emergency, with his office stating the 84-year-old Republican continues to improve despite reports he was found unconscious and required CPR. Dispatched audio from his Washington residence, made public last Wednesday, indicated responders were called to an unconscious individual suffering potential cardiac arrest, though McConnell's office has not confirmed the recording pertains to him. A medical expert argued the senator is currently unfit to serve due to his advanced age and history of falls, warning that returning to work could impede his recovery after potential oxygen deprivation. Some observers suggest officials are playing a quote-unquote political game to keep the senator in office until his term ends, to prevent Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, a Democrat, from appointing a successor. McConnell faces renewed scrutiny regarding his ability to complete his final months in office after announcing earlier this week he would not seek re-election, with his term set to expire in January 2027. Alright. Well, firstly, politics aside, and although I know people that certainly would not agree with what McConnell would say or any of his colleagues within his party, I will say that I hope McConnell is alright and he does recover. Secondly, despite knowing that for him to continue working as a senator, despite being advised not to go into work until recovery has been completed, I don't think this is even about trying to prevent the opposition trying to get a one-up within the politics within the respective state of Kentucky. This is a serious concern and a threat to McConnell's health. I get that. Republicans don't want Andy Beshear to appoint a successor in the Kentucky senator race. However, to continue having McConnell going into work despite history of multiple falling downs, and of course, he is in his 80s, by the way. He's very old. I'm surprised he's even still working at the age that he's at. I mean, good for him. It's good for him for continuing working at the age he's at. But still, that is, come on, let the man rest. Come on, guys. Are people in the Republican Party that desperate to ensure that McConnell continues his work as Kentucky senator, just so that the Democrat governor of Kentucky doesn't use whatever power that he has to find whoever senator within the Democrat Party could then at least act as the temporary Kentucky senator until the next midterms take place somewhere this year or the year after that and so on. Now, you can disagree with these men all you like. Fair enough. To continue by putting a man who certainly should enjoy his retirement by now to by persuading him to continue working despite knowing that doing so would severely impact negatively on his health recovery. This is not just this is more than just desperate to ensure power is maintained in whatever level of government in the US Congress. This is also a threat to a man's health. No, this is ridiculous. Let the man rest. He's done enough for his state. He's done enough as senator. Let him enjoy his retirement, man. Good grief. Just stop. US Belgium at World Cup is most watched soccer football telecast in US history at 30 million viewers, Fox says. On Monday, the World Cup match between the United States and Belgium drew 30 million viewers in Seattle, setting a record as the most watched soccer football telecast in United States history. This viewership figure surpassed the previous record set last week when Fox reported 26.4 million people watched the United States face Bosnia and Herzegovina. The 4-1 loss eliminated the United States from the tournament. Audience peaked at more than 36.8 million viewers between 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. US Eastern Time. Fox executive Mike Mulvihill told Deadline the tournament's reach is almost like having a second NFL season, noting there should be no debate about soccer football's popularity. Despite the elimination of the tournament's final co-host, Fox has generated record-breaking ratings throughout the event, shifting focus to what sustained interest means for soccer football's future. Alright, now firstly, before I actually get into the story itself, how dare you say that... No, actually, how dare you compare the FIFA World Cup to the NFL? I get it that the Americans go crazy for the NFL. I'll let them enjoy their sport. What I will say is, that whoever these people are saying that this is big as the NFL or anyone that's dropping NFL references at any point in the FIFA World Cup for any reason. As much as I understand Americans enjoy doing their own things, and I'll like them to do so, for the sake of saving them from embarrassment, if they haven't done so already, do not compare the NFL to the FIFA World Cup. Not just in terms of the viewership, but it's also don't compare NFL to the FIFA World Cup when it comes to the scale of pop culture moments that generates from the sport in question. Now, the NFL Super Bowl is a good argument for the NFL side. That's just one event for the NFL. The entirety of the FIFA World Cup, in my opinion, for many decades, draws close to at least 1 billion viewers every single time the FIFA World Cup takes place. At any point this millennium, in the last few editions in countries like Qatar, Russia, Brazil, South Africa, Germany, Japan/South Korea, and so on. And for the longest time I remember when I was in high school, there was a post showing the figures for the NFL, showing 200 to 400 million viewers for the Super Bowl, which is a good number for a final match of any tournament. Quite impressive, I'll say. And then the viewership for the FIFA World Cup, scaling at 4 billion viewers, to prove the point that the FIFA World Cup is a much bigger event than the NFL. And then people that are defending the NFL, I'm not just going to say Americans. I'm talking people that defend the NFL. They say that the FIFA World Cup takes place every 4 years. The NFL Super Bowl is every year, so you just divide the viewership for the FIFA World Cup, and the NFL Super Bowl is in equal levels with the FIFA World Cup, given how often it takes place. And that is so fucking stupid. These people defending the NFL are so desperate to show that the NFL is as big or a bigger event than the FIFA World Cup has ever been, which it will be for the years to come. The point isn't even about how often an event takes place. What matters is how much attention that the event in question brings in every time that event takes place. So yeah, that's that out of the way. Now, in regards to the United States versus Belgium at the World Cup, most viewed soccer football match in United States history. Impressive, not bad. It's nice to see that records being broken in this year's edition for the United States specifically, especially given that soccer football is not that big in that country. The same in Canada as well. Nonetheless, this is going to be a FIFA World Cup edition for Americans to remember for a very long time. And also in regards to the pop culture moments in the FIFA World Cup, I've watched a video. I'm not sure if it's on TikTok or Instagram. There was a guy talking about how much FOMO that he has had since the FIFA World Cup has taken place, between the start of the group stages up until this moment in time, right now, as I'm recording this, which is the conclusion of the quarterfinals, and now the semi-finals is about to begin, starting tomorrow at the earliest. And the amount of FOMO that Americans would experience, knowing that how much excitement there is from soccer football fans from all over the world. Yeah, I can see why people in America would be jealous for not being involved sooner in the event. That's not to say that Americans aren't interested in soccer football. For most that aren't aware of soccer football ever in their lives, they're realizing, oh wow, this looks very exciting. I didn't realize the culture, the chants, and the banter. Wow, looks so exciting. I wish I was there. And that's the beauty of it. This isn't about the advertising money and the sponsors that's funding the competition. It's the journey and the moments we make along the way. Yeah. Now, of course, that's not to excuse the problems before the match, especially in terms of visa approvals and the Iranian national soccer football team having to set up base in Mexico, despite even given that a lot of Iranians aren't allowed in the United States to begin with. That is a story for another time. And it's unfortunate that Iran had to go through all that trouble with the legal issues and the immigration procedures, so on and so forth. Now, I would go on to say about how FIFA had made an exception for the United States and also Canada and Mexico to some extent, if they are strong on the immigration as the US are, and yet previous editions like Russia, Qatar, South Africa, Germany, and so on, FIFA had advised host countries in the past to allow people of all nationalities to enter the country for the FIFA World Cup, no matter the restrictions that the host nations have on those people and those countries. Yet, this edition, FIFA's like, well, it's down to the countries hosting the FIFA World Cup to decide who comes in, who's not allowed in, and the duration of stay that they're allowed to have with their visa. But again, I've already said enough on that already, even though I said I wouldn't get into that. And well, it's too late. Oh well. Well, yeah. But thought you might know that. It's worth noting if people aren't aware of that already. So what's next for the FIFA World Cup? Well, this year's FIFA World Cup is going to make a lot of money. And I'm not talking about the hydration breaks that was recently introduced, which is a practice that's very similar and has been adapted in many sports in the United States for many, many years. Also, the halftime show is also coming to the FIFA World Cup. Another element of United States sports culture. Not that I have a problem with United States sports culture. Why now are we introducing this? If people argue there's so much benefit to said aspects of the US sports culture, are they introducing it because it's a great idea, let's do that, or are these new ideas put into place now because it's down to the fact that the US is hosting it and the US is like, I have a great idea. Let's just no, I'm not going to the John Beck impersonation. It's not too bad. It's just I can't be bothered. Nonetheless, they're going to say, you know what? I have a great idea. Let's introduce hydration breaks and a halftime show, like in the United States has done for many years in all other sports. And I'm just listening to my sister watching one of the quarterfinals between Colombia and Switzerland, and my sister isn't happy about that. Damn. So yeah. Anyway, with that all out of the way, congrats to Fox with record-breaking viewership for the FIFA World Cup, especially with the US, because, well, there's loads of Americans in the US. It's a no-brainer, really. In regards to FIFA World Cup this year, despite the troubles, the legal issues and obstacles and so on, a lot of people are going to look back on this, and they're going to look back on it so fondly, like the greatest nostalgia that they've ever seen. And that is it for the episode.